In religion, it's the ritual, altar, book, implements, magic formula, music, incense, gestures, that reunites myth and matter, and that this is also what poetry does, and what makes poetry a sacred rite, an act of initiation. And this is something that can't be resolved, reduced, translated, or understood. One can refuse or surrender. Billy Chernikov. The old elm in the park etches paths on blue canvas sky, precise archaeology of tropological whim. Call it cosmos, love's unfolding sunbound promise in twisted twigs, hieroglyphic stories of sun, rain, moon, earth, fire, ice, burst tips, lace, caress against slate sky, the edge of memory's temptation to move into a bower of long-gone confections posted daily to a simulacra of connection, neither alive nor dead, diverts web-struck mind away from attention to ghost clamor, fills us with names of the dead gone ahead, gathers in slow, thrusting bud tip where leaves unfold into world waits to be spoken. Nobody can hear me. Okay, so welcome everybody, and thank you so much for being here tonight. Is that better? Okay. I'm used to just shouting at a class, so I assume that everybody can hear, but they're not really listening anyway, so it doesn't matter, right? You can't hear me? How about this? Oh, that's going to be fun. Okay, so last year, some of you were here last year, and we had a lot of conversation about the question of understanding, because one of the most frequent responses that I get to my poetry is, I don't understand you. So we talked a lot about the fact that the way we think about understanding is not always what understanding involves. That understanding occurs on levels of reception that aren't normally accounted part of your logical waking reality, which is what most people are referring to when they say they don't understand. They want an answer. And what they got was, play something. What they got was a sound, a feeling, a vibe, and that's understanding. That's what we were talking about last year. So I'm carrying on my pedagogical mission here. I'm just going to read you a little bit of something I wrote for Christian's website, this gallery. Writing begins with a sense of language as material, as medium, no less than paint is for a painter, stone or bronze for a sculptor, sound for a musician, with all the complexity that implies. That means that sounding of words, their phonic, rhythmic vibration is just as important, if not more so, than their denotative meaning. It means that syntax, especially with its insistence, as Isabel Stengers points out, on specifying who acts or causes, who is acted on or caused, must be resisted, deformed, abandoned in order to reimagine the world and our relation to it. Like paint, syntax can be composed into whatever forms the poet invents to address a particular moment. Given that our particular moments are deeply influenced by syntax and the proper ordering of subject and object, to break with standard syntax is to disrupt habitual perception and insist on meaning at a higher and lower level. It is to shake the sistrum. This is a sistrum. That ancient ritual instrument, one wire each for earth, water, air, fire, and to arouse the elements from their slumber. And summon the goddess, Hathor, to presence. A particular moment is an immense and disturbing thing, full of joy and horror, the distant, the near, the beautiful, the hideous, the visible and the invisible, what the poet Robert Duncan called what is. And a poem is a sistrum that animates our experience, activates our imagination to encounter what is in uncontainable, unrepresentable plenitude. To think that language can simply represent it is to guarantee a predictable outcome, a settled worldview that maintains what Isabel Stengers again calls predatory categories, forms of thought that continually resituate us within the fixed relations of the given. Poetry differs from other arts in that its material, words, sentences, include a dimension of denotative meaning and syntactic order that the poet must work with even as she resists its call to repeat the existing definitions of the world. Poetry's mission, its particular power, is to transport us through and beyond the denoted given into the taken. Words can get us there, but only if they are composed antithetically to the settled and expected patterns associated with representation. Words are first and foremost sound, noise. As Chaucer somewhat vulgarly put it, soon is nothing but air broken, and every speech that is spoken, loud or privé, foul or fair, in his substance is but air, for as flamme is but lighted smoke, right so soon is air he broke. He was being a bit provocative, since air he broke is also a synonym for fart. I thought that was so. I love that part of Chaucer. Meaning adheres to that noise in multiple modes, and the poet's power is her ability to mobilize them, to make the sounding resonate with unfamiliar, meaningful experience. Language is the house of meaning. It is haunted by meaning. Meaning elusive and complex, mingled, mongrelized, relational, transitional lives in language, and as with all life, refuses to be pigeonholed. The poet walks along the edge of a ridge, chaos roiling on one side, order neatly laid out on the other, slips back and forth over the border, mixing them up, polluting them with unprecedented forms that strain to mean what's never been meant. With wings on her heels, she writes a world that emerges within and through her words in the intricate, rhythmic sounding of creation. Doubt's shroud would dampen trees' unhinged exuberance if it could. Purple, yellow, luminous, white bud burst into chill air, reeks of clarity. Light's taut flirtation with bark, brick. Doubtless, exilic exposure's memory of other exposures, resistance to treasures precious, maintenance on death is daily, nominative, mind kick, locked into jammed up containment units, seems almost to pulse. Pressure mounting toward revelations, never arrive beyond pressure mounting. Another name for history rhymes with whirled. A mode of circulation brings Ginger Rogers to mind and Fred Astaire. Saturday morning fare on the new-fangled TV with Edmund O'Brien's spooky report of his own murder and Bob Steele's imperishable virtue. Constellate mysteries, lucky stars. Counted out in ecstasies of chiaroscuro wonder, figures awakened in exile out of world. Words, strange scamper, then rhymes with history. All those lives folded into mind and earth. Endless compost pushes out from dead wood of winter stillness, plosive, guttural, sibilant, veined articulations, tropologically inclined, doom rotation, rhymes with world. Flow-blocked water rhymes with mind-lock. Distance leaves trees devoured by commerce. Exuberant refrain lost to bound ears and eyes. Sightless, deaf among brown broken stalks of last year, falls compacted leaves and cracks. Crannies swept away in cold rain sketches, immediate mysteries calm, eerie whirl, few days, vortical swirls demand to attend euphoric chori. The kiss returned as reflections to have, slides into possession, perfections chaste, but hungry promise, splayed out invitation to take it however you like it, as long as it coheres and wears white on Sunday, as the necessary figure fails to appear and Blakean ambition flops on the dock, a phrase reconstituted from physical remnants of history, lodged in synaptic crevices distance, till imperfection's filthy pier returns. Newport Beach, Saturday dawn, fishing boats willy-nilly hauled up on the sand, dead fish gleam in moonlight, yellowtail, mackerel, halibut, air thick with salt and blood, seas crash and hissed return. Okay, this poem has a reference to, can you hear me now? Is
Better.
can you, I have to stand like this for you to hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. This poem makes a reference to Psyche, and it's an old story about Psyche and Eros. I don't know how many people are familiar with this story, but the bottom line is that Psyche gets married to Eros, and through a stupid act that's brought on by her jealous sister, she ends up getting punished, kicked out of Love's house, and punished by Eros's mother, Aphrodite, who starts giving her these horrible tasks. And one of the tasks is she dumps this huge load of mixed grain millet and of wheat, and Psyche has to sort it. And she is just about to give up in despair when the ants come to her rescue and do it for her. Lumina in my skull flow through us, flesh or mode of their karyogenetic hydrinks in measures wrought out of stones, offering bees flight or flocks contextual leader, not the one you remember, but the one whose gaze shifts with knowledge of next. And not Augustine's perilous hand's inscrutable power, although he got perilous, or parlous as they used to say, where risk and danger name dread creation brings to choice or no choice. Time, the clock meets out, regularized interval projection and blocks access with accumulated temporal dumps, clog passage, and create bodies from plants around their voracious flight from death, and the names lost to Psyche's convulsive singular claim as she is ripped from story and left to flop around on some couch or metal table to be dissected, labeled, and assigned appropriate drugs to help her forget the damn pile of seeds linger vaguely beyond rainbow's musical haunt, or hant as they used to say, seeing through the administration's network of coordinates to shape's rugged background where to fit is enough. The new flowering of love seems to have stalled in the mess of usual cruelties piled up against the gate to the garden, a paradise where roses bloom. As the song goes, not to say Eros doesn't show up in the thrill of passing green eyes, bold gaze, flesh aglow, taut expectation of eternal caresses, turgid crisis, joy flesh brings to love's game, incarnation's reckless ecstasy of touch. But you'd better watch out. She really doesn't care if you wind up wrecked and alone. and erotopoetics. Everybody has to have a poetics. You have to have a poetics these days. You can go get a PhD in poetics. And so I wrote one. This is erotopoetics for an old friend. Take kiss as an inch or yard, a Röntgen, degree, or amp, and tell me what's measured in the thought of that touch. Flesh to flesh spans eons, galaxies, the marriage of two stars in a luminous red nova. Take kiss as a glade newly opened to the sun in a beech forest where 1,000 saplings reach toward the star, and survival of the fittest gives way to joy of the generosity of opening. Take kiss as your poem's blackboard, where scrawled lines trace the dance of bees returned from fields she strolled through, Cretan violets, iris, cyclamen, fateful narcissus, to make sacred honey fed the infant god, golden tears of raw. Take kiss as a blank page, a white desert where dread breeds in the abyss between words, alive with the risk love brings to names tumble out of nowhere, smelling of clover, mown grass, form mouths to their measure, brushed by anticipation's swollen lips. Beyond fly-infested kelp wave heaped on a beach, a seal glides through green glass curl. Gull at bluff's edge watches out of alien eyes, and words pile up with kelp. Poets, farewell, roads, mother, distant rocks swept away as they arrive. A wave function occupies here of this view, now finds itself in rectilinear zone. Sign of limits beauty passing through initiatory foothold on fallen forest remnant, trees reduced to timber, giants tiddlywink, jumble scattered down mountain's wounded flank. And us, log to log, leaping over ruined earth, word to word down the register no one can appropriate, toward no end beyond thrill of electric insouciance associated with tumble, or sometimes stumbles in complete leap into Orion's sweep, as who now knows what choice, what loss, what promise leads from Chicago to Stockton, England to Denver, Denver to L.A., Ilium to a small city on the desert's edge. Where all threads converge in a new view of the banks of the Santa Ana. Two words stumble out of the blue, bearing Spaniards on horseback, and the Gage Canal, where it was whispered great Uncle Harley came to untimely intoxicated end between steep, slimy cement banks, where slip leads into wonder of last gasp's sudden end. Okay. We okay? Yeah. Anybody got any questions? You know what it means so far? Are we all right?
I can do all the positions.
Yeah. Well, can you hear? If I hold it like this, you can hear.
Yeah.
Okay. No, this is good. Like, I mean, this is like a metaphor for the fact of poetry's existence in the world. It's always like this little tiny sound being drowned out by booming shit all around it. Okay. All right, we're going to change the tempo up a little bit here. This is called Inaugurate This. Yeah, you can laugh. It's okay. It has a epigraph from James Hillman's Aphrodite Justice. Beauty and justice are alike in that humans do not make them. They make us human. And then there's another epigraph, a poem by Jack Clark. This body made of this place, now silent, but for all the night of metallic sound, keeps strict visual contact, which is like memory itself, as the McDonald's truck takes off, puffing the air brake, while the flesh connected to the mind is all blind, as in any religious praise the Lord mystery. How can I be here without where? Oh yes, tender is the night. Where you wake up is where you begin, with or without angelic attendance, though that often has to do with how you wake up as much as interdimensional visitation rites. Day's gray face a sign of yet to be determined inflections of nasty weathers stuck in today's craw, anima mundus as conjunctio monstrum. Your the Hyperbio one is a book of poems I just finished. It took me 10 years. Your Hyperbio whatnot is fine and dandy, Jack says, looking in from 1987. But it's over and left you looking back. Pay attention to your reactivated orientation, and it doesn't much matter where you are. A Best Western in Bowling Green or sickbed at home. Polaris in your heart knows which way is loose. Beats the hell out of non-somatic thraldom to a scentless hell of words, miss their mark every time, returns again and again to rehashed encounter with vanished meaning, well, not meaning itself, which wouldn't be vanished then, but say the blank stare and cardio excavation site left behind, though Jack reminds me it's not really mine. More like a sign of the storm churns in moments, heart, unfolded frenzy for glib promise of tomorrow, dressed up as yesterday, all shiny and run by somebody good. It's an invisibility, he says, stirs with invisibility, so don't take it personally, or maybe it's both ways around, since both are caught in current, circulates through day's recent Thanatos eruption, renders the demos yearning for a state of great again, acidic, segregated spiritual rigor mortis, leaves beauty and justice outside, looking perplexed by the Geist's insistent backward Zeitlurch into a stall of perpetual cruelty and mean-spirited exclusionary pale-faced hate outbreak disguised as order's wholesome missionary position orphans human in some desolate 14th century Lhasa. It ain't the first time, hon, and it surely ain't the last. But that's not much solace when the king, in the grip of unadulterated testosterone overdose, bolts up in a rage, leaves the queen subject to random declarations of dependence and constitutional subjugation to hormonally challenged avatars of chaos. Unhappy dropouts from MIT always lurk around somewhere, but freed to really fuck things up in the name of the same self Got Lucifer in that big dust-up back in the day when it all seemed so hopeful before the black sun rose and I took over. All damned the torpedoes, fucked the boss, and tossed the bloody tea in the harbor. Milton had that down. Then the shit hit the fan, left us subject to mass distribution of declamatory hails to individual stupidity, which Schelling located at the origin of being, only to have his hand slapped by Hegel, who couldn't handle the thought of imperfectible evil, but then he never had the pleasure of meeting current dark angel eruption. And what is this Satan, after all, that tears us away from eternity's call to bring mind to attend to who's speaking, not lose your lonely eye in communion's mindless rhetorical sway? Augurs auspices. We are lived by powers we pretend to understand. W.H. Auden. To be quite honest, it's just a fucking brownie. Chef Kwame Onwuchi commenting on the cosmic brownie. There is such a thing apparently as cosmic brownies. It's just a fucking brownie. Sorry. The augurs inauguration and comes from it's rooted in the notion of beginning, and it comes originally from a Latin word augere, which figures in author and authority and inauguration. I mean, it goes through all of these branches, and so the augur was the person who read one of the main ways of determining the beneficence or otherwise of the future that lay in front of an event that was beginning. An augur would read signs, and the signs that he would read were birds. They would release birds. There were a couple of ways to read the birds, but that's what it was. They would read the formation of the birds in the sky, and that would tell them whether it was going to be a good trip or a bad one. There's one reference in here to the Council of Trent, which you may not know. I don't know. Anybody know the Council of Trent? It was in 15. Well, there's also a reference here to Paolo Veronese, who was an Italian painter in the mid 16th century. The Council of Trent occurred just after the formation of the Sacred Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, which was the Inquisition, the fancy name for the Inquisition. And anyway, so that's what got Veronese in trouble. Okay. Birds scatter into the poem every which way: swallows, wrens, vultures, and geese, eagles, of course, each indecipherable prophecy etched on the sun's face. As ravens Stark slash interrupts the sun, speaks of God knows what, fire perhaps, quickly erasing whatever settled illusion of happy mastery in the roar of our own vast indifference to light, stone, water, earth, scent of smoke, the news, travels fast, littered with Hittite names for house, and tenebrous illusions haunt chiaroscuro implicated announcement of earthquake, plague, tempest, corruption, war, and collapse, a veritable catastrophic kit and caboodle, ultimate doom prophecy. Undone by the children's laughter down the beach on the verge of the bay. Yeah, but what do kids know about the Council of Trent? And inquisitory constrictions condemned art's knowledge of human divine matter-of-fact God joy in food and good company, one eye on Gethsemane, the other on the wine, landed Veronese in the hot seat. Too much imagination for the bishop. Opens a geography of worlds, secretes its own light, earth of emerald cities, geosophical coordinates entwined, crossroads limbs heave with joint passion. A word emerges from suffer to point to mind of uncertain compass in heat of caring's embrace of matter of fact. That old butterfly flap to tornado yarn haunts current streets, dawn, peach glow, so still, waiting for the wave to hit, faraway joy boys disconsenting the liberal consensus to activate lower regions of imagination's infernal geography, disgorge gangs of pain monkeys. Impish creatures pour from Moloch's arse to inflict maximum suffering on the poor suckers who empowered them in the first place and turned the joint over to the lordly ones who aim to reconstitute the Constitution in the name of divine right of the strongest to kick the living shit out of everyone else and make them thank God for it. Well done. Okay. Let's skip the next one. Let's skip the next one. Let's skip that one. It's running a little long. Maybe we'll just go into Spiritus Sanctus. This poem is called Spiritus Sanctus. It's for David Murray and Kahil El-Zabar. I don't know how many of you were, I wrote it, I basically wrote it just sitting at this table right here when I was listening to Kahil and David do their unbelievable magic. That's it, Spiritus Sanctus. The gathering of leaving hums with electric together's voltage, sounds, sea murmurs, meanings, music bound with common leaving in wake of drums' time adjustment. Opens soul to sun's pulse as it weaves a beautiful pathology through minds caught in sky's translation of first beat thinking. What we truly know, so basic no one listens except in locales notable for instrumental insertions of heaven's disharmonious paean to the edge where leaving is breathing. At the reed forms air into a message love sends to calm rage, heal pain in a cloud of vibratory insistence on more. Another note, another run, everything embraced by breath, stirred the waters, caressed reed-shaped word, leaving is its other name, useful after time stuck in the scheduled zone, clamped tight and maybe even lost in the delusion of beating death at death's game. Good luck with that, bud. Meanwhile, breath in, out, systole, diastole, star beat, cosmic pulse, and someone puts a reed, splits the air into pitched streams, and don't forget that fleshy stump measures it. And the next thing you know, drums, time's heart of the matter as tongue modulates knowledge of summer over time's exquisite rhythms into stuttering heart's numinous instigations. Okay, the way that Dan and I planned it, this would be the end of the first set. We have a short second set that's some ekphrastic poems that I wrote in relation to Christian's work. So, I don't know, it's about it's probably about 15 minutes maybe. So, I don't know if you want to push ahead now or take a break and come back.
Great.
Push ahead? Is that the general consensus? Okay, well then we'll do it. Oh, we need, okay.
So first one is about this thing. Oh, okay, so just keep on. Next slide, next slide. We're going to be sounding this. Yes. Yeah, we'll try. Could I grab one too, Mike? Okay. Yeah, we'll start with sound.
It's a lot better. So,
I'll get the drum started. Yeah, I'll turn the sound on. Yeah, like, we can just kind of.
Okay, but I'm gonna
You
try
want
to
to like
signal
flip
that.
through first? You want to like while we're each call is for like one piece. No, and so we can just turn. It's 2 in the morning. Oh, it says 6 hours are fine. It is. So if you want to flip through, like whatever, it's like however pace you want.
How do you want it out?
It's like storytelling. I mean, I like it.
Yeah, great. Yeah, absolutely.
What's happening? Yeah.
Thank you.
I never knew the word ekphrastic before I met Christian, so I owe it that. I love that. Oh, sorry. I have to swallow this thing I am. So I never knew the word ekphrastic before I met Christian, so I owe him for that because it's a really wonderful word. I mean, just listen to it, ekphrastic, you know. It means a poem that's written in response or relation to another work of art, ekphrastic poems. So these are the first ekphrastic poems I've ever written. And they are not attempts to describe in any way the work that Christian's doing, which I find wonderful. Although we have this argument about Joseph Beuys, but see, Christian is like, doesn't want to have anything to do with any mode of coercion whatsoever in the natural world. So he was a little upset at Beuys's coyote stuff, but I loved it anyway. So it's not, I'm not trying to, what I did with these poems was I just took off into my own, wherever he sent me, that's where I went. And like this piece reminded me of a article I'd read decades ago by a man named Walter Otto on the mysteries at Eleusis, the ancient mysteries and the Eleusinian mysteries, which were the oldest and largest, the longest running. They ran for like 1,000 years, and it involved. It was 2 years. I won't go into the details, but the second year, you marched in a crowd to following the god to Eleusis, which was just outside Athens. And once you were there, you entered the temple. You drank some kykion, which was, I don't know, psilocybin or argo or something like that. Anyway, it was, and then it opened your inner eye. And then you were led down through this cleft in the earth, you were led down and down and down and down and down and down and dark, nothing but dark. And then Otto, nobody knows exactly what happened in the Eleusinian mysteries, but Walter Otto, made some stuff up based on things that he did know that I found really marvelous, which his argument was that when they got down there alone in the dark, eventually, well, you'll hear it. It's in the poem. I'll read you the poem. It starts with a, what are we doing, Jan? Okay. It starts with a quote. I have seen Kore. Kore, oh God, I have to explain something else to you. The Eleusinian mysteries were the celebration of the great mystery of the mother and daughter. And the mother and daughter, in this particular case, was Demeter, who was the goddess of the earth, and Persephone, who was her daughter, and who was stolen from her by Hades, the king of the underworld, who did a deal with his brother Zeus. And Demeter became so enraged and upset at this violation that she stopped all living things from growing on the earth. So nothing grew. There was no grain, and the animals were wasting away. But worst of all, for Zeus, there was no fat to burn to the gods. So he decided that this situation was no good, and he would arrange for Persephone to come back if she had eaten nothing. It turned out she had, in fact, eaten 3 pomegranate seeds. Pomegranate seeds. What? You can't hear. I can't believe it's this hard. How about, okay, Eleusis. I have seen Kore, Heracles, gathering through time's tenuous tissue, sets off down the sacred way in swirl of dust. From all the feet follow nocturnal mystery god and sacrament of new flesh. Sperigamos, past love's sanctuary, cry Yake, turn toward Rertoi, before the bridge to the sea, and then beribboned Yake to the mystery. Sacred Kykion to open the inner eye, descent into split earth's dark opening, down through death's bowels, sightless mist-eyes shuffle into her womb, buried soul seeds lost to life, to light, abandoned alone in deepest night, till sudden spark flames, and there in the dark a green shoot. Her promise presses up and up, nourished, succored by hard, dark matter, mother, insistent push toward sun's rising. Could you change this? Next slide. Pullulate. I didn't know that word, but now I do. Thank you, Christian. Pullulate. Banish their fittest to the night sky. Survival, too, to hang among dazzling celestial plenitudes, smear across night's dark face. Creation's endless jewels light the dark with dreams of being's lush flourish. Pullulation's outpouring of being offers itself to itself, its own hunger a gift, profusion out of earth's desire for our star's light, illuminates and feeds each blade's generosity and sacrifice, devoured in further offerings, hunger. Meander. There's an epigraph. Hydrogen, oxygen, and all other, I have to get closer. Hydrogen, oxygen, and all other atoms were deep down just different types of vortical knots. Barta magazine. You can take the boy out of the maelstrom, but you can't take the maelstrom out of the grass when the grass indicates a vortical inclination runs through creation's many meanders, swirl around exquisite vacancy's mystery. Dark mouth, earth, welcome, deep calm Melville saw in frenzied whale pods swirl, peering into lucid depths at the center of bloody chaos. Nursing mothers, trailing umbilicals, and young Leviathan amours in the deep. Hardly a tornado, but there you have it too, stillness in the heart of the whirl opening into. The Karnak photograph was supposed to go with this set, but it got mixed up somehow. Elegy for a Path. The thinking of feet cuts tails into world's hide, measures of love, fear, secrets, soul's need for a way through field of ordinary stubble, stretches indiscriminate days into material analogies, imaginative lockdown, while a path opens the day to majesty. Say Karnak's great hypostyle hall in the precinct of Amun-Ra. Ipet Isut, they called it, the most select of places. Though wonder in path reveals truths, the whole place select, bathed in mystery, transmutes dulled daily round with imagination's resplendent passage along path of its making into arms of world's ordinary wonder. Elegy for a forest. That their merely being there means something that soon we may touch, love, explain, and glad to have invented such comeliness we are surrounded. John Ashbery, Some Trees. I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree. Joyce Kilmer. Percival, the only one who made it all the way to Quest's cup, grew up alone in the forest, pure heart of a child, raised in tenebrous reaches, beat in his chest. So he alone got to the Holy Grail, a fairy tale truth of heroic victory. But this isn't about heroes or cups. It's about the forest, Mother Woods, who embraced him, whispered eldritch secrets, pine needle hum in infant ear, in cool, shaded clearings, amid dancing shafts of light and minds. Bear, snail, stone, tree, shroom. Fluid forms of knowledge, vibrational symphony, gathered from the air, shared through her body in thick nets of rooted exchange, made Percival worthy of the Grail. Breath, breath, breath. Can you hear? Yeah. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Let your mind and your body hear it in the spirit. Kahil El-Zaban. The first one comes on hard and fast, wail of despair, earth knowledge, pain. The mythical slap superfluous, given rude interruption of warm, breathless eternity. Though soon in and out sync up with cellular blood pulse, memory from warm, dark yields being's rhythmic joy. One makes two. Two opens into infinitesimal divisions, syncopated two-step aspiration brings it back to spiritus, also of the wind, earth breath, I guess, caresses the grass, stirs the air with invisible forms, music, words. Passage to earth and sky. We've lost sight of what abides, what holds us between, suspended in spite of gravity, whatever that is, weighing us down, because it's a different place, overwhelmed by the lateral world invented by some old Dutch guy's vanishing point, turned her from great mother into that girl in the bar last night. which would be okay if the icon still lingered around or within the image to remind us who we are, but fades into a regular, colorless extension of yesterday's colorless, regular extension of tomorrow's ditto, and so on. Dead earth of no value beyond Black Friday's parodic ecstasy, vast, empty sky, a daily reminder we are nothing. While between is a state where earth is our common foothold, source of her bounty, and sky a sign of soul's limitless potential for love. The blue of her cloak wraps us in her care, if only we can escape the hold of the plain and turn our eyes toward them. Burr. Okay, there's a famous quote. Those of you who aren't poets here probably don't know this, but there's a very famous quote by a poet named Robert Creeley. Form is never more than an extension of content, he said. And that became a kind of rallying cry in the 60s and 70s for a kind of radical poetic movement. So this Burr starts off with, form is never more than an extension of content. 1. Form is never more than a whim of attachment's hooks in imagination's love of boundaries embrace. Form is never more than red, sticky passion for corners. Form is never more than two dreams embattled airing in the field where lambs and I-ams frolic. Form is never more nor less than holding zones vessels inside and out. And finally, ramble. This, poets are like language archaeologists. Every word has a long history that they're sensitive to, and often quite consciously chasing. But those meanings, those old meanings from way down deep, they're unconscious. They continue to ripple up and inform the current usage. So that's how this happened. I looked up ramble in the etymological dictionary that I use, and it said that it was originally a Dutch word that referred to cats, horny cats at night wandering the alleys. It's perfect. Ramble. Amorous Dutch alley cats ramble into the poem out of history and through lingo's curves among shifting phonemic landscapes in quest of a little nookie. Make their naughty swerving way through ply on ply of moonlight shimmer in littered alley, star-glint of shattered glass, pure pleasure. Aimless meander brings to incoherent encounters as a matter of numinous necessity. Thank you, everybody, for coming and bearing with us. Christian is going to just say a bit about his work, and you've got a few extra minutes, just hang around here. Come on up. Come on. Yeah?
Can you just introduce Daniel first?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is Daniel Barta on soprano sax, master of soprano sax. Sorry, Daniel. And I am Michael Boughn. And you are fabulous. Come, Christian, come on up.
It's fixed. It's not going to.
I brought spring with me.
Yes. Got Matthew Pollock as well.
So, my name is Christian Bernard Singer. I live up in Georgian Bay, where Liz and Mike have a cottage, and that's how we met. And it's just been this fantastic relationship that has built over the years. And then Mike decided he was going to start responding to some of my work. And so I make work with pine needles and mosses, and the big works are hay bale, made out of hay bales. And I do those all over the country, and but mostly in Ontario. And a lot of it is about bringing what we consider dead and tread under your feet when you walk on the forest floor, and bringing that back to life. And even the rocks I found across the road from where we live, and they have holes in them, so they're known as hagstones. And hagstones are very special objects because they can lead you to new portals of possibility, portals of understanding. And so I jam them with dead pine needles that have been painted to look alive again. And it's two things that are considered not alive but brought back to life, and that's kind of how I see the nature. It's about reframing it so that we can see it anew. And obviously I'm concerned about the environment and climate change, but I really see climate change as change. And I'm interested in exploring what is change. And climate change is another change. And most of us are in a certain age group, and we've all had to deal with change. And we can be resilient, and we can be forward-looking, and we can be celebratory of what is still here, and to try and protect it. And the nature is just this huge idea, and when you break it down to something that is that an artist might focus your attention to it in a new way and reframed, you might see it anew. And especially us who live up north in the country, and we're very in tune with the land and the nature and what's going on, and the energy of the forest, which is a real thing. And people in the city have kind of lost touch with that. There's such a thing as forest bathing, that in Japan it's a whole thing, Shinruku. And again, the natural world can heal us, and it's now our turn to turn around and heal the natural world. But I'm just going to close with how amazing is it that such a fantastic poet would write about my work. It's very moving, and he's done it in such a way that is the way that I work in visual art. It's about creating impressions that may or may not stick with you, and every once in a while there's something that's there that might stick with you and might put a light on and affect some change. So that's what I love about Michael's poetry, and that's what I try and do in my work. And these impressions, I think, are something that I'm rambling. I'm going to stop right there. Thank you. Thank you. Oh yeah, and the alley cat thing, that is really me.
I told Christian 2 nights ago that I thought of a lot of his work. I thought a lot of his work as compostable monumentalism. He gets the. I mean, the monumental is important. There's nothing wrong with the monumental. It kind of locates you in a much larger context than you normally think of yourself. It's when it gets turned into stone, and then it becomes the staging for fascist bullshit, that it becomes a problem. So compostable monumentalism deals with that by allowing you that feeling of the immensity of the world you're in, and then it just goes away. I love it. Okay, thank you. You have a question?
Professor, could you say a few words, please, about Daniel's music, or can Daniel?
I can say a
what
few
he was
words.
You can
doing?
say a few words. Well,
Sure.
I can say this. I can say this.
No, let
No,
Daniel.
go ahead. Yeah, I mean, I guess, like Mike said in the beginning, poetry is a lot like music, and especially instrumental, improvised music. You might not understand maybe everything that's going on or every reference. Often me and Mike sit when we're rehearsing for these kind of things, and he stops in the middle of a poem and he has to explain kind of the references. Oh, did you get that? No. Did you get that? The other night it was funny, we were rehearsing and hanging out and drinking a little bit, and Mike looks at me after like the 4th, do you know about this story? And like, I love to hear it, right? It doesn't bore me or anything, it's quite interesting. He looks at me about the 4th or 5th reference in, and he says, man, you gotta look this stuff up. And I'm like, where do I start looking this stuff up, So I think, yeah, a lot of it is about that. That a lot of times instrumental music can feel, maybe people don't know where it's going and people don't know what it means necessarily, but if it gives you an impression of some kind of emotion, then maybe it's important. Yeah.
That was brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah. That's it.
Any other questions? Anybody want me to give them a little lecture on poetry? No. Okay. Oh, by the way, Frank asked me, Frank Francis owns this place, and he's not here, he's in Europe right now. But he asked me to, oh, sorry. I'm trying to think of it. What did Frank ask me? I can't remember. It's gone. That's okay. It must not have been that important. Right? Okay. Anyway, thank you very, very much for turning out on this cold, damp spring night. Yeah. And if you want to leave a little money for the musician at the door, that's a good thing to do.
Awesome. That's great.